Rivalry, history, passion, pride. This series explores football's bitterest clashes. This is Football Rivalries. Coming up, Red Rivalry. We investigate England's northwest clash between giants Liverpool and Manchester United.
Are you watching? Are you watching? Are you watching Manchester? Are you watching Manchester? Come on, Sixer!
With 5 European Cups and 18 league wins, Liverpool are the most decorated team in English football history. And there's one side in particular they like to remind. But Manchester United fans have their own boasts. John O'Shea's late winner at Anfield in March 2007 was crucial on their way to their 9th Premiership title win.
40,000 unhappy Scousers. It don't get better than this. Peace.
It's a killer blow, like.
Just another chapter in what's become the biggest fixture in English football.
You get brought up to dislike Man United.
Fantastic, you know. They hate us and we hate them.
It's the ultimate. I think Man United will always be the one that the fans want to beat.
Without doubt, it's the biggest game in England. The history of this club, the tradition of this club, and you got to say the history and tradition of Liverpool as well. The fact that they're, 20 or 30 miles down the East Lancs. It's just a huge game.
This is a rivalry that's all about those 30 miles, the distance that separates Manchester United and Liverpool, the two great dynasties of the English game. It's emotional, passionate and bitter when the two clubs meet. So what is the rivalry all about? Primarily, it's about football history. And these two have written their names indelibly in the annals of the English game.
We were successful in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and they, in the 90s, they won everything. And I think the rivalry sort of started in the 90s.
There's always been that intense rivalry with the supporters, purely I think because they were the team that we had to overcome in the 70s and 80s. And now with the boots on the other foot, we are winning the league so often, and Liverpool haven't won it for maybe 16, 17 years now, so you can sense the hatred there.
Liverpool were clearly the standout team in the 70s and 80s, dominated the domestic scene from a league perspective. In the 90s and beyond, it's been Manchester United. So I think both being from the same area, 30 miles apart, the rivalries got bigger and bigger.
There's jealousy from United supporters that this team from Liverpool, 30 miles down the road, that they could have so much success. And I think it was born out of Liverpool's success that I think the rivalry started to ferment and become what it is today.
But there is a deeper element to the rivalry. Both cities were giants of the Industrial Revolution. Liverpool, as the region's port, was better positioned than their neighbours. That was until Manchester built the ship canal that connected them to the Irish Sea and commercial opportunity.
If you look at the rivalry between Manchester and Liverpool as cities, you have to go back to the Industrial Revolution and the industrial competition between the cities, and things like the building of the Manchester Ship Canal, which was basically to bypass the Liverpool docks and bring goods straight into the heart of Manchester.
Both cities competing to be the powerhouse in the northwest, and Liverpool stole a march on us until we dug the ship canal and got bigger docks than Liverpool.
And Liverpool was a very
rich and wealthy port, and Manchester at the other end of the Mersey was struggling a little bit, and they had to build a Manchester Ship Canal to get a slice of the action, so to speak. There's always been not just a rivalry, but a suspicion of, you know, they're muscling in on our jobs, etc. Football exacerbates it and exaggerates it.
The industrial heritage and, of course, the football has all led to decades of bickering between the players and supporters. Even the directors get into the argument, or should we say the regional humour.
We get on well. We work very closely together with Rick Parry on the Premier League, but on G14 or UEFA meetings. But certainly, you know, we both want to win. They're winners, we're winners, and it's you know, there's quite a bit of humour about it, but also both very competitive humour, shall we say.
Yeah, it's great. It's always a big battle.
The battle between the two clubs came to a head in one of the more recent matches. Gary Neville had taunted the Liverpool fans after a late winning goal, kissing his Manchester United badge just in front of them.
To be honest with you, I didn't know he'd done it during the game, but I haven't seen it on the TV. I think you know, his reaction was a bit over the top. But you know, he's a passionate Manchester United supporter and a player, so when you do get the 3 points, you know, it's good to celebrate, but I think he went a bit over the top.
Get in there! Well, I think Gary Neville was doing what I'd done if I'd have been lucky enough to play for United. I'd have gone up the other end and done exactly the same thing, if you bear in mind the foul abuse that he takes off Liverpool supporters week in, week out. I mean, personally, I don't have a problem with that.
Personally, I don't think either Gary Neville nor Steven Gerrard, with his comments, did anything wrong whatsoever. And I'd much prefer footballers to actually care about the big local rivalries and what it means to the fans, rather than just be robots who, you know, treat every game as it comes.
While the industrial heritage still looms large, football has taken over as the major export. Nowadays, it's the great football managers rather than the industrialists who are celebrated here.
These are some famous portraits of the ex-managers. Obviously Bill Shankly, he's the one who got it all started. Bob Paisley, followed him, really successful, won a lot of leagues and European titles. Joe Fagan was his successor. He was another successful manager. And then obviously the king, Kenny Dalglish, the best player to ever wear the red shirt.
Manchester United too, of course, have their legendary figures. Sir Matt Busby from the 50s and 60s, and Sir Alex Ferguson, who's had staggering success since the early 90s.
Isn't it fantastic to be from a region, the Northwest, and when you talk about great managers, if you look at those two football clubs, obviously Alex Ferguson now, but when Bob Paisley was manager here, and before him Bill Shankly, no wonder Liverpool and Man United have won as many trophies as they did.
Well, yeah, certainly Ferguson is out of the mould of Shanks and Bob Paisley and Sir Matt Busby even, you know, and Sir Matt, who played here at Liverpool. So they're a great. I think there's a great relationship, a healthy relationship, I think, even between the clubs, and respect.
The first of the Northwest super managers was undoubtedly Sir Matt Busby, who took charge of Manchester United in 1945. From then on, he made history with the Busby Babes. That team, though, was tragically ravaged by the Munich air disaster of 1958. Busby himself survived the crash and a decade later led a new United side to European Cup glory.
To rebuild a team from virtual scratch to become European champions in 10 years, I think was Matt Busby's greatest ever achievement. I mean, apart from the anguish of seeing the Busby Babes and virtually a whole team destroyed, to get the sort of the spiritual willpower to do it, that was an amazing achievement. And I think that was one of the factors that made Manchester United so widely acclaimed outside Manchester.
United's fame has always fed the rivalry between the two clubs. And since the days of George Best, Sir Bobby Charlton and Dennis Law, Manchester United's name has carried that little bit of extra glamour.
It was a privilege to play against Man United then, because they had the likes of like Dennis Law, George Best, for goodness sake. You know, so to have played against them, and when they were an unbelievable side, I mean, they were probably the top side in the country at that time.
But as Manchester United peaked as champions of Europe, Liverpool's star was still rising. The Beatles had made the city famous in the 1960s. Then in the 70s, Liverpool FC prepared to take over as the city's #1 cultural export.
Obviously the Beatles and the Merseybeat sound was taking over not just this country but the world, and that was echoed on the terraces. The Kop actually started by singing Beatles songs and singing the popular songs of the day.
Together with their anthems, the Kop and Liverpool embarked on an extraordinary period of domination. The Liverpool era was beginning, and the architect-in-chief was another Scot, Bill Shankly.
Well, it's all down to one man, Bill Shankly. He had a vision of what he wanted Liverpool Football Club to become. He wanted to create a bastion of invincibility at Anfield, which he did. I think he appreciated how important and how passionate the fans on Merseyside were. They worked with each other. He created 2 or 3 very successful teams, but it's purely down to Bill Shankly and the influence and the foundations that he set up at Anfield.
First Shankly, then Bob Paisley guided Liverpool to title after title, while Manchester United faded into relative mediocrity. For many in Manchester, the Liverpool success story was too close to home.
From their part, there was a great deal of animosity towards us because, Manchester United had been this big football club, 50s, 60s, and then really it was Liverpool, late 60s, 70s and the 80s that had taken over. And there was a fair bit of animosity amongst the supporters.
It did hurt Manchester United fans, yes. They couldn't reconcile it with the image that they had of themselves as the top club in everything, bar actually winning titles and cups. Oh, they won the cup a few times, but they could not win the league. So Manchester United had a chip on the shoulder about it, really, and they didn't like it one little bit.
The rivalry was beginning to ferment, but the late 60s and early 70s were comparatively innocent times in English football.
I just think over the last maybe 30 years or so, things have changed dramatically. I mean, in my day, if we didn't win anything, we wanted Liverpool to win it, and vice versa. Because Bill Shankly and Matt Busby were big pals. And so there was a great relationship between the players. And to a great degree there was amongst the fans, but that changed in later years. Maybe somebody would have...
The 1970s were scarred by football hooliganism. It was one compelling reason for the decline in North-West relations.
The sort of terrace disorder that you were seeing around those periods isn't going to make club rivalries any less. It's always going to exacerbate the rivalries. Famous incident in 1988 when the Manchester United team were CS gassed by Liverpool fans as they came off the coach.
I got CS gassed walking into the changing rooms. Quite a few of us got gassed, and a lot of the Liverpool supporters who were there as well, they got gassed.
It was very basic, this rivalry, if you like to call it, more than rivalry, hatred, I suppose.
On the pitch, Liverpool dominated. A successful period under Shankly became a dynasty as Paisley took Liverpool to new heights. His final trophy was won against Manchester United in the Milk Cup final of 1983. Captain Graham Souness insisted that Paisley himself went up the steps at Wembley to accept the cup.
Playing for Liverpool in those days, that was everybody's dream. They had dominated English football in the 70s. It was a wonderful time to be at Liverpool. It wasn't a case of you were guaranteed to win something, but it was near to it. And every season I was there, we did. We won something, at least one thing.
But they didn't have it all their own way. May 1977 and the FA Cup final. Liverpool were already champions and were in the European Cup final. A win could pave the way to an historic treble.
I think the cup final, where we stopped them winning the treble, was an achievement for us. It was a foregone conclusion that more or less Liverpool would win the game because they had a team that was going for the treble and looked well capable of winning that treble. I think it was a great occasion for the club.
While Manchester United celebrated the FA Cup, Liverpool travelled to Rome to face Borussia Mönchengladbach in their first European Cup final.
They'd been through almost a treble-winning season. It turned out to be a double. We'd lost to Man United, our dearest rivals, in '77 FA Cup final. So we were sick, getting on the train to go back home Saturday evening. But the spirit of Liverpool
was just incredible. And, you know, as it worked out, well, we won that night, and the first time. And the first time is always special, I think, because, you know, you're making history for the club. And you're in the team, so you're part of the history. And I think it was absolutely unbelievable in '77. It really was.
Another key issue in the Manchester-Liverpool rivalry is that European Cup trophy. Liverpool have made a habit of winning it over the years, culminating in a 5th win in 2005.
This is the famous European Cup that we won in 2005, so it was for the 5th time we're allowed to keep the trophy. Really nice trophy.
Right now, Liverpool have won that trophy 5 times, and United, arguably the biggest club in the world, have won it twice. And that's maybe, that hurts, I think, some people at United. I know it hurts. Sir Alex, you know, he'd love to have won it more than just the once.
Man United haven't fulfilled their true potential. You know, they've won the European Cup twice. We've won it 5 times, and that's something that they can't accept.
That's something that I think the Liverpool supporters get a great deal of pleasure out of pointing out.
5 European Cups, mate. 77, 78, 81, 84 and 2005.
It was Liverpool's golden era, and it seemed to go on and on. But blessed as they were with the most successful side England had ever seen, there were still a few worries about the old enemy.
Liverpool, being Scousers, it wasn't really enough for them, I don't think. They still had that little bit of a chip on their shoulder and resentment about Manchester United.
I think the seeds of it were sown probably in the 1970s and 1980s, when Liverpool were by a mile the most successful club, not just in this country but in Europe. Yet their supporters always perceived that the media focused more on Manchester United. United were believed to have a little bit more charisma as a football club, if you like.
Manchester United, they've always been the glamour club, haven't they? And Liverpool hated them for being glamorous.
That created a grudge which became more and more bitter as the years developed, and I don't think we've ever recovered from it, to be honest.
And you'll get much the same opinion from the Liverpool fans.
Jealousy, that's what it is, mate. Jealousy. How can they have three United, a player and 2 managers United, and we've got the best track record in the world for 18 league champions and 5 European Cups, and not one United. Bob Paisley should have been United years ago. It stinks, mate.
Disasters at Heysel and Hillsborough in the 1980s hit the club. At the end of the same decade, Liverpool's tight grip on English football began to loosen. As a player, Graham Souness had felt the commitment that had made his club great. As a manager, he found that attitude changing.
Without criticising Kenny in any shape or form, felt that I inherited a group of older players who maybe had seen their best days. And what I was guilty of was trying to change things too quickly. And I couldn't get my head around people who would come to me, older players, and say, look, I've had an offer from this one or that one, I'd like to go. Because Liverpool, for me, was the #1 football club. Once you were there, you never wanted to leave.
As Liverpool faded, Manchester United were on the rise again.
I can remember Peter Robinson, who was the chief executive, saying to me when I was a player at Liverpool, if them down the road ever get it right, we'll all be in trouble. And by them, he meant Manchester United. And for him to say that, those words stuck in my head. You know, if them down the road ever get it right. And that's how it turned out.
I made my debut in 1990, and you know, that was at a time when the huge amount of success that they had was just coming to an end, and that just coincided with the Manchester United golden period as well. You know, Liverpool were coming to the end of their golden periods, with a lot of the players being older players, all having to retire and move on.
Trouble for Liverpool came in the shape of Sir Alex Ferguson, who arrived in November 1986. He would become a managerial great.
The first thing that Alex Ferguson did when he took over as manager in 1986 was not, I'm going to make this club win the league championship, I'm going to do this and do that. His public utterances were, my target is to get ahead of Liverpool. I mean, it was as personal as that, and he picked up the vibes of that from the fans.
Sir Alex, when he came down from Scotland, he took over United. I think he saw Liverpool as the benchmark, and I think he based modern-day Manchester United, I think, on Liverpool in ways.
By 1996, United were the team to beat, as they reminded their great rivals in the cup final that year. A shattering blow for Liverpool.
You're distraught to lose a cup final, full stop. But when you lose it to maybe one of your fiercest rivals, I was gutted after the game. But of course, there always has to be a winner, and unfortunately, we were on the losing side.
In 1999, Ryan Giggs scored an unforgettable goal as United achieved an historic treble of Premiership, Champions League and FA Cup wins. After denying Liverpool the treble in 1977, United could now celebrate their finest hour. All three competitions had thrown up obstacles, but in the FA Cup, Liverpool themselves had nearly knocked United out.
I mean, that was an incredible game that, we seemingly in complete control, and then at the time, United were popping up with late goals.
And that's just what they did. An equaliser from Dwight York with 2 minutes to go. Then Ole Gunnar Solskjaer fired in an injury-time winner to break Liverpool hearts.
I think it was just a little bit of luck here and there, a little ricochet here, goal there, and it was they just had that sign over us at various times in the 90s.
But while their rivals rued their luck, Manchester United were ecstatic.
Cup game here, I think it was, yeah, we won the treble actually, where Liverpool 1-0 up and we come back in the last couple of minutes to win 2-1. You can't beat that for excitement.
The three trophies that United brought back in 1999 ranks as the club's finest achievement and puts Sir Alex Ferguson among the game's greatest ever managers.
Alex has proved that he is up there with anybody you want to name, and arguably by the time he's finished, be the greatest manager that's ever been. He would be the first one to tell you he needs to win another European Cup. But even if that wasn't happening, he'd still be, certainly in my opinion and a lot of other people's opinion, maybe the best it's ever been.
Liverpool won the League Cup at United's expense in 2003 under Gerard Houllier, and greater success was to come. Rafa Benitez arrived and has won the European Cup and the FA Cup. Perhaps the glory days may be about to return.
It's the same when you play against United.
His record speaks for itself, he's cup competitions, European Cup competitions. Likewise, he's done it in Valencia. He's come across to English football, and in 3 years he's achieved so much. And I think that says a lot for him. He's only been here a short space of time.
I think there's a feeling that perhaps Liverpool are just on the brink of maybe building something whereby we can get back maybe to the days that we enjoyed.
Well, it's exciting times, isn't it? You new owners with the prospect of a new stadium. Rafa with a squad he's got now, which is playing in the Champions League. Money to spend to improve the squad. So yeah, I mean, to be a Liverpool supporter at this moment in time, it's attractive.
One of the best.
He may have learnt the game in Spain, but Rafa Benitez has been in England long enough to know what a fixture against Manchester United is all about.
No, we know that the passion in England is more than in other countries, and for me, it's similar when you play Barcelona against Real Madrid. Top sides, winning trophies for years, and normally when you are in the top of the table or when you are playing for trophies, you will see normally Arsenal, Chelsea now, and United always. No, that is the rivalry for years.
One of the reasons that Manchester United have been right up there is their Portuguese star, Cristiano Ronaldo, who was well on his way to being named Player of the Year for the season.
Of course, it's a very important, it's a tough game, difficult game against Liverpool. Always, it's good. But I think you are in a good way. You play very well. This moment, I hope to win. Everyone knows if you win, it's a big step to win the Premier League. This is very important, and I think you have a great chance.
So the fans gathered for another Liverpool-Manchester derby. The calm before the storm.
Incredibly passionate. I think it's probably the most passionate derby, certainly in England.
Arguably the two best English teams ever meeting face to face.
the history of the two clubs, their success and the geography, they're so close together. I think it's just incredibly passionate.
We'll beat them. We're going to beat them.
Anfield is a difficult ground to come to for any team, but it's at its most hostile when Manchester United are in town. With Liverpool hoping to thwart United's title bid, interest in the match certainly wasn't confined to the venue itself. And in the closing minutes, Ronaldo fired in a free kick that Pepe Reina simply couldn't control. John O'Shea was onto it, and the points were United's.
That's the beauty of football. You don't know the result, and then against the run of play, and I think Alex was very clear on that, we got the last-minute winner from a relatively unlikely source in John O'Shea. To see that ball hit the back of the net, there was nothing better.
So another Liverpool-Manchester United derby had passed. But history between these two clubs has many interpretations.
The fact that we've still got all those European Cups and what have you still gives us the edge. And
glad you said that.
Oh yeah, definitely we've got the edge. There's no doubt about that.
And we're winning. You know, I mean, the fact that we've got 8 premierships and they've never won the premiership, suits me anyway.
I don't know whether he actually said it, but it was reported that he said it, and it was Gary Neville and Ryan Giggs. And apparently they said that before they retire, they'd like to catch up with what Liverpool's achieved. And I thought to myself, well, he's not going to be playing when he's 130.
Thank you for watching. Make sure you don't miss more in the series of football rivalries.